Namaste.
Yeah,
How was your trip to India?
very extreme.
So, what are the highlights of your trip?
The highlights were, well, I was in Kamakya, and that was great. And I was bringing one of my younger friends there for the first time. So it felt like an important thing to do for his development, and also, for me to go on pilgrimage to Kamakya. It's always a good idea. So we went there for that, and yeah, it's wonderful. And you have to, yeah, for me, like, I waited on the huge queue to go into the womb and to the stone, into the murti. But wow, that was trying. In my prior visits, I didn't do it because I didn't want to wait online 5 hours. And this time I did it, and it was great. But I do it again. Whereas in the Chinnamista or the Tara temple, you just walk in and meditate. There's no one there. Everyone's focused on Kamakya, but there
Kamakya.
are the Chinnamista temple and the Tara temple are super powerful, and you can spend hours in there meditating and chanting. No one will bother you. What happened was I was meditating in a room. There's a teacher there I see called Gangama, and she's an Advaita. So it's not my cup of tea, but when I go there, I have very strong Shakti experiences, and in that room, it's more rising. So last year, it was hitting my eye level. Like, my eyes would start to drishti on Ramana's picture or on the teacher or on the air conditioner for hours at a time. And so I had every time I went there twice a day for a month or 6 weeks, it was like this, Kundalini rising experience. And since predominantly for me, it's Kundalini descent, I feel like I needed that. And like, it's not my favorite, but if I can go somewhere where I feel like there's progress being made, and if I can sit in that room, even though I'm the only one undergoing kriyas in the entire room, when asked about it, someone else maybe was disturbed. She said, "Oh, it's natural. Just don't mind them." And so I felt relatively safe, if obscure. So my path was, I was never particularly interested in the pujas and the rituals and so forth. I thought I should be, and I participated in some, um, in the Durga temple in Varanasi,
Mm.
um, in the ashram where I lived for a while, and I was a part of. When I was initiated, there was a long ceremony, initiation ceremony, when I took vows.
Mm.
So, but in each of these instances, the level of connection wasn't what I have in meditation. So, why do the ritual? And if you look at um, the writings of Abhinavagupta in
Mm.
Kashmir Shaivism,
Abhinav Gupta.
there for certain yogis, their rituals uh, are internal. They're happening anyway. They're happening spontaneously. So for those people, there's no reason to do the external ritual. The point of the external ritual is that you can move into the spontaneous internal ritual. So that
Yes.
kind of happened to me automatically, but I didn't
Okay.
understand that. So yeah, that I can tell you about my initiation with
Yeah.
Kamakyama.
Okay.
So that's the way I say it. I know some people say it differently.
Mm.
So I was interested in this tantric temple for many reasons. I was because it was one of the original Shakti Peeths, if not the original, at least one of the four original Shakti Peeths. Because it's where Sati's Yoni fell. It's known to have the most power and the most connected to the feminine essence and vibration. Um, Also, Kamakya is a form of Kali. She's one of the um, forms of Kali. So there was a direct connection with Kali at that temple, in a slightly different form. So I was really interested to go, and but in those years, um, I wouldn't have gone to somewhere like that alone. I would have tried to interest some friend in the journey. So I wasn't that adventurous yet. And sure enough, a friend said he would go. I was totally shocked that this friend would go because it wasn't his cup of tea. But he said, even if it's just going to hold space for you, I'll go. And I said, wow, great, let's go. So I was living in Spain, and I booked the ticket online from Spain to India. And the very next moment, I had a abdominal massage called Chini Sang. It's a Taoist massage working on energy centers in the organs around the stomach, in the midsection. So my friend in Ibiza, she is a expert Chini Sang practitioner and Qigong teacher, and is just a wonderful person to do this with. So I booked the ticket and I went into the next room to receive my treatment. She had come to where I was staying. And Kamakhya appeared in my body within minutes. So suddenly, it was like Kali. My tongue was out. I felt Kali's presence, but it was a giggly, kind of like a turned on teenage girl vibe, rather than Kali's more like the presence I was used to with Kali. This had a different flavor, highly sensual. And so it manifested on the massage table. And my friend, the practitioner, the Chini Sang body worker, she's a longtime esoteric Buddhist practitioner. So when the deity manifested, she knew just what to do. And she started pranaming and appropriating to the deity. And then the Kamakhya and me was so happy that that this woman was doing the proper things. So I myself haven't done them, but as Kamakhya, I've received them. And it's such a beautiful, incredible story that I hadn't even left Spain yet. All I did was book the ticket. So what I share with other people is one of the lessons from that experience is the intention and the action, whether that, you don't need to go to India. You might need to go to India, but I can also say, just the intention and the action of booking the ticket, showing your interest in Ma to that degree, where you're going on pilgrimage. The pilgrimage starts when you even started thinking about going, and then when you buy the ticket, you don't even need to get on the plane yet. So that's when I experienced Kamakhya's presence for the first time, and that was, I don't know, 8 years ago. So it's been here ever since. And the primary form of Kali that is the presence here is called Vama Kali, V-A-M-A. So to my way of experiencing, it's like a mix of Kali, or we could say Maha Kali, and Kamakhya as a combo. So that's why I experience it. And I looked for a long time in all sorts of different journals and academic in Shastras and everything. Who is Vama Kali? And there were definitions that made no sense to me and didn't resonate. And then I read one definition, which was like the most feminine. Vama is the most feminine, associated with the second chakra and associated with the yoni. So I said, there you go, that's it. So that's the form of Kali that is that I'm in constant communion with. There was a beautiful quote that appeared yesterday from Ramana Maharishi, and not someone who is known to talk about love, but for some reason I Googled Ramana and love, and what came out was everything, if I don't get it exact, but this was the gist, everything I see, feel, touch, and smell is love. Now that same phrase has come out of my mouth hundreds of times automatically in meditation as Divine Mother speaking. So I am love. Everything I experience is love. Everyone and everything is love. And everything all the five senses I experience are love. And then I see Ramana say the same thing. And just yesterday, like I had the idea, I should look that up. Right? What did he say about love anyway? Because I would never associate Ramana talking about love. But yeah, he had everything he said about love was exactly my experience and exactly what comes through automatically for me. So the gurus or the scriptures that we're aligned with then start revealing themselves more and more to the point where you're at. So they become, the writings of the gurus are, it's not just their astral guides in the astral, but their writings become guides as well, and so useful. And for me, like if I have them in my social media feeds, because nowadays one can, right? I can have Ananda Mayama in my Telegram feed, in my WhatsApp, in my Facebook, in my Instagram. So I have all my favorite gurus in those social media. The teaching associated with that experience from those gurus manifests in the algorithm. So if I'm looking at YouTube, or it doesn't matter, the number of times this has happened is hundreds. So it started happening about 1.5 years ago, and I was joking with my friends. It's the Malgorithm, the Ma algorithm. And at first I was like, it's kind of mind-blowing, because you say like, oh, the Divine Mother is operating in Google, in the iPhone, and yeah, it's all reality. Yeah, she can do whatever she wants in the 7-year-old video you're watching, and so this Malgorithm, which is not bound to any device, it's just like universal Ma algorithm, appears as road signs. Now I live in Bali, which is Hindu, so a lot of road signs can be associated with synchronicities for me here, and in the social media feeds, as well as the synchronicities that happen in everyday life. So this Malgorithm, even like a video will post, like one of your videos, I was thinking about something like this, and then 3 hours later, you'll post a new video exactly on the subject, like about hearing other voices in your head. It was like exactly on point. I was contemplating this very topic, and then 3 hours later, your video popped up. So isn't that incredible that you really feel the Divine Mother or the universe, reality is teaching you in all these different ways? It's just incredible.
I totally agree. Now, which sadhana do you think is easy? Is it Kamakya sadhana or is it Kali sadhana? And how do these sadhanas affect you? Is it a different kind of an experience, a different awakening, or do they all lead to the same end result?
Well, just like the deities themselves, they have a particular frequency.
Okay.
So now this is my experience with Kamakya, and it doesn't mean that it's like the experience that people have or associated with that temple. It means that this is my experience with it, and that take it or leave it.
I get
so what I understand, what I experience, what I understand is that the Kamakya sadhana is like you're much more in service or in worship of the embodied feminine. So they're, like learning to love all forms of the feminine, whether it be from a young girl to the old woman, and everything in between. It's all an expression of the embodied feminine. Now you might have a preference and say, oh, I love playing with children, and the old crow who's yelling at me or hitting me with her purse, I'm not such a big fan of, but it's all the embodied feminine, all different faces of the embodied feminine. The next thing is the highly sensual component to it. So when Kamakya's presence manifests, whether it's in meditation or out in the world, immediately there's a heightened awareness of sensuality that can manifest as meeting a new partner. That can manifest as having a spontaneous heart orgasm. So what has happened with the advent of the spontaneous Kamakya sadhana fused into Vamakali is that the spine, the whole body, different chakras, the throat, the crown, the pelvis, Muladhara, can all independently orgasm or orgasm together. So, I mean, if we're going to be talking about Kamakya, we should put like PG, PG rated. So it's a most incredible experience. So in a genital orgasm, most people will experience a release. You know, that's the culmination of the orgasm. And in a heart orgasm, there's no release. It's like this excitement and then a contraction, a pleasurable contraction. And this can go on for hours and hundreds of times. And during this state, if you're so vulnerable, so because it's centering on the heart, and you feel this contraction in your physical heart as a, you know, like an ejaculation, but there's no fluid, obviously. And then you have this incredible release and bliss, but they're happening rapid fire or big, small, different amplitudes. And the emotions associated with this event are incredible vulnerability. So you might be crying, tears of joy, tears of bliss, tears of love, incredible feeling of love, incredible feeling of just awe, but also this vulnerability where someone if someone dropped a feather, you might just dissolve into tears. Your heart is really very, very open. The heart orgasm is this, once you experience that and that becomes part of your embodied reality, it's preferred to the normal genital orgasm. It just has a whole different, similar, but the level of love and bliss and connection with all that there is and with the goddess is entirely different. And that same kind of level of orgasmic delight can happen in the spine, in the throat, you know, in the third eye. The third eye you can experience as a yoni orgasming.
Mm.
And crown, I haven't had the full crown orgasm, but like spots on the crown. So little spots on the crown can also receive that same thing, and the whole spine, and then every cell of the body, including the spine. So, you know, it's one thing at home with your partner, it's another thing you're on the dance floor. So when it happens, you know, just surrender to that.
Typically, the energy of Kamakya is felt as orgasmic bliss in various parts of the body.
Yeah, orgasmic love bliss. Yeah. Her presence as joy, like giggly joy. And then when she's descended, if you want to look at it that way, yeah, orgasmic delight, bliss, love, joy.
I recently, a few days ago, I was watching YouTube channel, and this was a program on Angkor Wat temples which are there in Cambodia. These temples, I've not seen them earlier. And there's another particular temple called the Bailon Temple, I think, if I've not got the name wrong. This is also in Cambodia. When the Angkor Wat temples started showing on the television set, I went into a state of deep bliss. And my heart was opening up. So much of love was pouring out of it. Literally, tears were coming into my eyes. And it felt like, you know, that temple, Angkor Wat temple, which I was seeing on the TV screen, was actually causing it. It felt like I was connected to this temple, maybe from many past lifetimes, I don't know. But that connection was very deep. It was at a very heart level, a very deep heart level connection. And it felt like though I was seeing it on the television set, it felt like it was part of my personal space, more say
Yes.
my heart space. So I had this very unique experience. Even the Bailon temple, there, you have different faces of Brahma. Now they call it Buddha. That faces too was stirring up so much of love-based emotions in my heart. I could not explain what was happening with me and why those images had those kind of effect over me. But yes, I can draw a parallel between what you were saying and what I experienced seeing these temples.
You know, I've had, when I touched my toe in the Ganga the first time, I had this incredible bliss, love experience. Even though I had never happened before in this lifetime, and I have no memory of my past lives. So I don't, I would think, oh, maybe I had a past life experience with the Ganga. As time has gone on, I can look at a picture of Kailash, which I have not been before, and start crying. Or it's more like the journey of Kundalini. It could be about a past life, but it doesn't have to be. Like the journey of Kundalini, and these are all the different expressions. It could be the mother temple in Egypt, even though it's not a Hindu temple or whatever, but it's still they had the 7 temples along the Nile with the 7 chakras, and the mother temples at the heart chakra. And they say Serapis Bey, the ascended master, is the high priest of the mother temple. Well, I started having the channeling of Serapis Bey and the Baba of Serapis Bey, and then later researching a bit about him. He was the Hierophant at the mother temple in the heart chakra of the Nile. So like
When you're talking
like,
about it, my heart is exploding.
exactly. So you see, like it doesn't mean necessarily that we knew each other from that period.
Yes.
But because it's the journey of the Kundalini,
Yes.
and that's what our journey is, then there's this incredible resonance. And when the heart starts to open, then that becomes the most powerful. Well, I don't know because my crown hasn't fully opened yet, but to date, that becomes the most powerful experience is the love in the heart center.
True.
And you become like a heart-based. So I'd say that's another facet of the Kamakya sadhana, is this moving to a heart-based expression, operating from love and feeling that love more and more, realizing that you are love and that everything and everyone is also love. That's a little more difficult, but over time it becomes that way. And then, you essentially are living in love. So the Kamakya sadhana and the Kamakya temple, of course, like it's more associated with esoteric tantra and maybe with civic practices where, there are couples involved and, hidden practices and things like that.
Vamachara.
And, yeah. And it doesn't really have to be that limited to that. So, what is going on there? It's the most powerful point for feminine essence in the world manifested in a particular temple. And, so if you want to connect more deeply with that, or that's part of your dharma to connect with that, then, how that sadhana presents itself, how Kamakya presents itself, how it will unfold, is unique for you. So like it's the same thing with the practices in general, or all sorts of practices. There's a time in your development where those practices are useful, and you find yourself in altered states, and you become a big fan of those practices. Can be puja at the Kamakya temple, or it can be pranayama, but at another point, you have to drop all practices, and however the Kundalini wants to manifest itself is your practice. However, it doesn't matter what the book says, it matters what Kamakya is actually manifesting with you. It doesn't matter that you can't find Vamakali anywhere because here she is repeatedly identifying herself as Vamakali. Okay, well, so just because it's not written about doesn't mean that no one else ever experienced it. And even if no one else ever did, it doesn't really matter. So you learn to appreciate the tradition these things came from, and you can definitely relate it to those traditions, but you're not bound by those traditions. So actually in my journey, when this started to happen, when I explained to people what was happening, I thought I was looking for validation, confirmation, and information from people who knew a lot about traditions, because I was trying to understand better what was manifesting in me. And when I would tell people, sometimes they would get very upset because I wasn't following the particular tradition and I didn't appear to have any need to. But their whole life had been about following a particular tradition or doing a particular practice. So I was like a heretic and very upsetting to their egos because they had invested a lot of time and energy and effort into these practices, maybe teaching these practices to many other people. So it's not a challenge to the practice. It's just saying like the practice is the thing that's supposed to get you to the next stage. Sure. And here it is. So when I work with people, that's what happens with them too. So I don't suggest people do any practices, because what's happening is my journey, the journey with Shakti, manifests in the other as descent of grace. So I don't really have to explain with words so much what to do with that. I just say be open for how that wants to manifest in you and with you, constantly be looking out for the signs. This is how you look out, and then use your discernment to know what's your ego and what's this divine intelligence and how it wants to do its sadhana with you. So that's really the amazing, next level of sadhana when it comes to this intuitive, deity inspired, driven sadhana, rather than the sadhana that you do. It's the sadhana that does you.
True. When somebody is undergoing an awakening, they are experiencing the divine feminine and divine masculine. Sometimes they're experiencing these two aspects within themselves, and sometimes their counterpart comes in one particular aspect. For example, if it's a woman, then the divine masculine appears into her life in some form or the other. And if it's a man, the divine feminine comes into his life. So now, how can they use these energies, divine masculine and divine feminine energies? How can they harness these energies when they're together? Or even when they're not together, when they are apart, how can they harness or use these energies to grow spiritually faster?
So it can happen as manifested with a partner, right? So a partner manifests, you're very aligned, and then a sadhana involving the two of you starts to spontaneously and organically manifest. So with every partner, it will be different, obviously. But if your Kundalini is both active and you're aligned, then it's the way I suggest to other people in this beautiful situation, and the way I handle it myself is I'm always waiting for the Kundalini to how it wants to express. So no longer am I operating from, I'm going to use the word lust, but I don't want it to have a negative connotation. Desire. There you go. So I'm not operating from a personal desire. It's not that I don't have personal desires. I do. It's that those personal desires, in terms of their power or their draw, are so small compared to the power and the draw of Shakti's desires. I'm very, I've had a long time to practice which is which, to discern which is which. So in terms of being with a partner and intimacy, I don't act on personal desire. So nor would my partner. So therefore, we're both open if the moon is right, how that wants to manifest within us. So sometimes there may not be intimacy for quite some time because that is not manifesting, and we're both okay with that. And other times, it's 7 hours where we're transcending all sorts of different realities together, including Palladians and Shiva Shakti. At one moment, the partner is the masculine Shiva, and the next moment she's Kali, and you're Kali, and then you're Shiva, and then you start losing all identification with the bodies, even as they're intimate, because you're in this heightened state of reality where many other frequencies are present. So it's that can all happen with a partner and alone. So you see, sometimes those experiences where you'll say your inner masculine and your inner feminine are intimate with one another or making love together within your very body. Or I had the experience where the deities are making love inside my body. So I can clearly feel the divine masculine and the divine feminine as two separate frequencies making love. And every time each one of them has pleasure, I'm having pleasure in my body. And I'm rolling around on the floor for hours because I'm literally being made love to by the gods. And I'm just in a surrender state, and it's all happening internally. So you say, once this kind of sadhana manifests in you, it's not necessary that you have a partner, but if you have one, that's great. It's like just it will find a way to manifest with you how it wants. It can be even instantaneous. Like, you're somewhere, you feel Kamakhya's presence. The next thing, a partner manifests within seconds, and you immediately are embracing.
How do these experiences fit into the framework of expanding consciousness?
Wonderful. Well, let's use the experience of being made love to in the body alone. So of course, I didn't even know such a thing was possible. And it was amazing, fantastic, one of the best experiences of my journey. So it completely transformed what I thought was possible and about reality and about embodied and about my inner masculine and inner feminine, about the deities being inside or outside, about what's going on, So the more the sense of awe, wonder, and embodied experience keep bringing you to the experiences themselves keep bringing you to an expanded state of consciousness. And the more dramatic, the more mystical, and the more crazy your experiences are, if I use that word, magical, miraculous, the closer you're getting to enlightenment. That's what I understand. And Anandamayi Ma has said something similar. So, you're on the right track. The more joy you're feeling everyday life, the more love you're feeling everyday life, the more that love and joy are not bound to anything. There's nothing causing that. You're just joyful and loving. The closer you're getting. And also with the dramatic, mystical experiences. And so the Kundalini itself, by delivering these experiences, is expanding your consciousness via the experience or in conjunction with the experience.
The bliss states that one experiences in a Kundalini awakening, are they similar to the sensuous experiences which you just spoke about, the inner, are they same, or is there any difference between this and that?
I would say that what I experience as the I am or Shiva state is different, because that state, it's transcendent. Where the states I was speaking about, orgasmic states, are so embodied. But that might change if the crown chakra completely opens. So that's the way it's been till now, but who knows what's happening. And that's kind of what I was saying before, is the rule, if there was a rule book, it's out the window. Once you go into this intuitive sadhana, or let's say sadhana that does you. Other people's experiences, scriptures, guru's words, they still have value, but the thing with the most value is actually your experience, your repeated experience.
Sure.
And if you're meditating with other people and they're having the same experience you have, and you share about it after, so then there's like a confirmation as well. Now, if you're not really prone to like fantasy and projection and things like that, then you can really trust your own experience.
So I had this experience where my body went into a deep state of orgasmic bliss. Like every cell of my body was filled with light and a kind of a divine pleasure. And that I cannot draw parallel to that to anything on earth. It is not of this world. And in that phase, my ego was inactive.
Mhm.
This body was experiencing it, every cell of it, and the electrical energy that was moving through it, it was like pumping electricity. Every neuron was firing in my body, all simultaneously maybe, and every cell of my body was expanded because of intense bliss. And yes, it is orgasmic bliss, but it is at a different level. When I had this experience first, it was a very maybe brief experience, but time stood still when I was having this experience. So I cannot really say how long I had this experience. Was it for 2 minutes or was it just for 20 seconds? I cannot say. But after coming out of it, that experience, it had a lasting impression on my mind, because something like that, that a human body can experience was beyond my imagination at that particular point in time. And I had no idea what was happening. And I did not know how to articulate this experience into words and share it to somebody, because I didn't know who would understand my experience.
Yeah.
Make sense out of it was beyond me. So yes, when I speak to you about this, it surfaces, the memory surfaces, and yes, there are a lot of moments of bliss in a Kundalini awakening process, but it is mostly the way I experienced it was asexual. It is just that bliss going through my body, and of course, recently it's been more of the heart bliss that I'm experiencing, a heavy heart experience with lot of bliss. It's something like, my heart will explode any moment now. It is that type of a feeling. It is there. So yes, I understand these things because yes, I have some experience of it.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to talk about the move from, from being, let's say, genital ego based to love heart based. And so you're seeking this love that you are, and as a teaching or a repeated verbalization that everything is love. It's only or everything is light, but it's only when you actually experience everything as love and light. Like Sri Ramakrishna talked about, after enlightenment, everything is suffused with light. So like the door has light around it. The iPhone has light around it. Everything has light around it. So that's with your eyes open, that's your lived reality. That's enlightenment. Makes sense, yeah? So when you actually experience that the other is the love that you are, and you don't have to remind yourself about it, or it's not happening sometimes, but that's your baseline, or that's your reality. Wow. So I call that love realization. And it seems like the heart awakening, which is so also here when I'm mentoring people, that's predominantly where they're experiencing their awakening as well, with joy and love and the heart. So Shaktipat can manifest lots of different ways, but the way it manifests here, and therefore the way it manifests with people I interact with, they have this same feeling. They are connecting with a cosmic joy, a joy beyond cause and effect, just joy and just love. And then, although their kundalinis might already be active and they might be having predominantly a kundalini rising experience, their awareness of their heart, or how Kundalini starts to manifest in the heart, their physical manifestations in the heart all start to manifest. So that's really the key. Like, as we're moving from the ego, which is like procreate, maybe for ancestral continuation, or for lust, or for whatever, moving to a heart-based connection with people, and that heart-based connection is with everything and everyone. But the thing that gets you there kind of is you start to experiencing that with the other. So other heart-based individuals, not everyone's Kundalini has hit the heart yet. So some people can have a very active Kundalini, but you have no heart resonance with them. But other people can actually have a quite open heart without active Kundalini. But the people who have an open heart with active Kundalini, where Kundalini has reached the heart, you'll find an incredible resonance with. So a deep connection, and beyond anything to do with the personality, with anything, if it's a partner, anything about how they look, or what they do, or where they're from, it just doesn't matter. You have this love connection where it's like beyond anything you ever experience, and you can have it with many different people who are also have awakened hearts. So it appears to me, what do I know, but it's my feeling, is that this is the way that the humanity is transforming. Because if you saw like how Kundalini was manifesting in the past versus how it's manifesting increasingly now, I meet so many people whose Kundalini is active in their heart chakra. 10 years ago, no, I didn't know anyone. So it can be, it's happening more and more people are going through an awakening, and that awakening seems to be more and more activating the heart in particular. And then their relationship to humanity, to the world, to their own life, to their family, to their friends, completely transforms, going from this kind of like lower chakras to heart chakra. And we can say that that's the how the transformation of humanity beyond all the scary headlines is starting to happen. That there are more and more people out there like this, and I find that so hopeful. And that's my immediate experience. I can read all the terrible headlines and get concerned as the next person. But if I say like 10 years ago, I never met a person like this, and now I know, a dozen or more, it's miraculous.
And my question for you is, generally people who are on the spiritual path, they have an open heart. They have more integrity, they're more trusting. So for that reason, they have a lot of, because they're more vulnerable, they're more open to getting themselves hurt. And heart is the area where most of the pain is stored, where some level of injustice has been met and give and take, or where, they've experienced a lot of pain in their personal relationships. That is the area where the pain is stored. So do we need to work through those layers of pain to reach that inner bliss which is there in the heart? And how do we go about it?
So that, everything you're saying resonates. It's also, I always say a good time for Shaktipat is when you think you're suffering from a broken heart, because you're sensitive and vulnerable, and maybe you've had a giant disappointment or something, and it has left your heart more open than it was before. So that's a great time for Shaktipat. It may be like the last thing you want to do at that point. So, it's just a word about vulnerability. When we're in the ego consciousness, vulnerability is something we want to avoid at all costs. When you're in the heart consciousness, there's such power in vulnerability. So no one, I could talk about it, but when you experience the power of vulnerability, then you'll understand, you'll understand. So that's where you want to kind of move to, that the vulnerability is a key aspect of the heart of love. Without vulnerability, there is no open heart. An open heart is vulnerable, and vulnerability is not what you think it is. So from the ego perspective, is, you know, someone's going to do something bad for you, someone you're too trusting, someone's going to take advantage of you, you know, victim, etc. But when you're vulnerable, it means that you feel everything. The level of empathy is very, very deep. That you literally are the other. So, or, you know, what I was saying before about my experience where I felt if someone dropped a feather during a heart orgasm, I might dissolve completely because I feel so vulnerable. But that vulnerability is not a negative. Being that sensitive and open is an incredible power and gift. So the gift of vulnerability, you see, in the ego consciousness, it's not a gift, it's a hindrance. You want to be invulnerable. That the ego would like to make you invulnerable, but in the Kundalini and the heart, the vulnerability is a superpower.
How do you know that you are ready for your heart to open? What within you? How can you assess it based on how you are?
So, yeah, it's not so much assess as aware of the movement. So if we're talking about a person whose Kundalini is already active, then they might have manifestations in the heart as physical sensations, or they might start to cry a lot. That's always a good sign.
Fluttering, heart pain, is that
Heart
also
fluttering,
a sign of
pain in the back of the heart,
yes.
Spontaneous crying for no reason, crying at sentimentality that normally you would never cry at, lots of laughing for no reason.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is all signs that something is happening in the heart. You know, you may have to shed millions of tears before your heart fully opens.
Yes.
Because it's releasing all that
pain,
stagnation, pain. And so the heart will tell you on its own when it's ready to open. You cannot like open it with chocolate or something like that.
I totally understand what you say. And the reason why I'm asking these questions is so that people understand, you know, how they feel when their heart is opening. Many of them, when they go into deep grief, they think that something wrong is happening with them in a spiritual awakening process. But the other aspect of it is that your heart is opening.
I experienced something I'd never experienced before, dread. The emotion of dread.
Okay.
And yeah, and I was like, wow, what is this? But even though there seemed to be a proximate cause for this feeling, I never experienced it in my life. I could identify dread. And if you look at it in the context of the heart awakening, it's just like another aspect that has to be released that I hadn't experienced before.
Wow.
So, you know, the Kundalini takes you on this journey, and when you're ready to face, you know, for someone else, they've already been through that or whatever. But for me, I hadn't been there yet. So it was like another new layer that needed to be brought to the surface. And so as long as you're, you see, like in a very active Kundalini awakening, I'm sure this is your experience, everything that's happening to you is coming up to be healed. There's no, even if it's driven by an external situation, the emotions you're feeling, the physical sensations, the dreams, everything is showing you is the Kundalini, basically. If it's happening in the Ma algorithm on the social media, it's happening everywhere all the time. I mean, the whole force of Shakti is organizing your embodiment and your lived day-to-day reality as your sadhana. So even if something is happening, which you might say, oh, this is weird, like some years ago, I had the experience of life wasn't worth living. What's the point of everything? It's like existential
crisis.
Yes, angst, existential angst. And I knew, you know what? This is just another thing I have to go through. and I never experienced it before. I wasn't like one of those teenagers, and I'm not like a student of Jean-Paul Sartre. So I don't have existential angst. But because it was so unfamiliar, I told my partner at the time, just give me 3 or 4 days to deal with this existential angst. I need to just go lay in a hammock for a couple of days, I think. And that's what happened. And then it passed. So I knew at an intuitive level that all these kind of like new emotions, sensations are all part of the healing.
Sure.
That Kundalini seeks to heal you of all your distortions, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and karmic. So if you're in a full-blown Kundalini sadhana, just assume that everything is coming up to be healed. Maybe we had like a love that was not returned, or maybe a parent passed away or appeared to reject us, or other troubles of the heart. And from those experiences at a young age, our heart might have closed. Some people are born with a closed heart, for sure. And other people have their hearts, broken, although of course the heart can never be broken. Even to talk about a broken heart, invites trouble. So that's why I use quotation marks. So the heart is closed. And then we go through life protecting our heart. And we might protect our heart in a myriad of ways. Maybe if we're a man, we develop big muscles at the gym to protect the vulnerability of the heart, but that won't work. It just cause other distortions. So, or if we're a woman, now we choose a partner not from love, but from practicality. So we could be, and we see the wisdom in that, as we will not suffer a broken heart. But of course, the heart yearns to be free, wild and free. The heart wants what the heart wants. If maybe you've had the experience, or we've seen it in movies, where the person has fallen in love with someone completely inappropriate. Wrong everything. The parents are aghast. But the heart wants what the heart wants. It cannot be reasoned with. The heart is not for reasoning. That's the mind. So the heart just wants what it wants. It loves what it loves. It cannot, like you said before, it's very hard to put words around the heart, because it's not about words. It's about feelings and about love and about joy. So when we get more conditioned through experiences, then the heart closes. But our birthright, if everything is love and I am love, and you are love, and we're all love, then this heart realization is our birthright. And we all have the capacity, because we all have a heart chakra, of having an awakened heart. So even there are these Indian stories that are lovely of, the bandit who becomes enlightened, so it doesn't matter how much harm this person has caused. That was when he was ignorant. And when he's awakened, he's a saint. So everyone can go from bandit to saint. It doesn't matter what harm you think you've caused, shame, guilt, fear, all these things weighing everyone down. Everyone with an unawakened heart, an unconscious heart, is at some level weighed down by fear, guilt, shame, disappointment, all these different aspects. And and that's the way everyone is operating in life. So there's just if there is some kind of empathy or emotion around the heart, it's usually like a sentimentality or very conditional love. Like, Divine Mother's love is unconditional, really unconditional, and universal love is unconditional. But even, the shadows of the mother's love, the embodied mother, can be, controlling, the controlling mother. Well, that's, there has to be a little control to be the earthly mother, teaching the child how to walk, how to nurse, everything. But at another level, when you get controlling, then you're in this, you say it's love, but the child does not experience it as love. And actually, if you look at it from the bigger perspective, it's not love at all. It's a projection of fear. So this is the journey of the heart, and the heart wants to be wild. It's not just that love is love. That's why the poetry of Rumi is so popular still and speaks to me, every day, because do you really want to become Rumi, where he's wandering around Iraq looking for shams for I don't know how many years, brokenhearted and searching for his master, who's apparently abandoned him, love struck, or like some forms of Radha, or Mirabai, one feels more comfortable reading the poetry of Mirabai than becoming Mirabai. You see what I'm saying? So we're all like many people are touched by Mirabai's poetry. I speak of the Indian saint who was devotee of Krishna, just for people who don't know that. So and her she has the place where she lived in Vrindavan is an incredible place to meditate if you get the chance. So the two best spots in Vrindavan for me were Mirabai's, where she lived, and also the Radharaman temple. So they're next door to each other, 5-minute walk. Anyway, so we're more comfortable reading Rumi. It touches us. It touches many, many people. So everyone has that capacity to be touched by Rumi. Who wants to become Rumi? Not actual Rumi, but the divine version of Rumi that's going to manifest in your open heart. Well, I don't think many people would say yes to that. Why? Because it's wild. It's wild, and it's super emotional, and it's can't be charted, can't be planned, can't be organized, doesn't fit a to-do list, it can't be understood. These bhakti saints were not in like happy partnerships. They were yearning for Krishna, and Krishna was the divine. But where's Krishna? Where's my beloved? Has anyone seen my beloved? Well, that's the same way Rumi felt about shams. Even just sharing with you, I'm getting goosebumps everywhere. So this high bhakti state where you're separated from the beloved, very few people would willingly choose such a sadhana. But wow, the power of it, the power of it, and the heart-based relating with it. So not everyone has to suffer like they did. Good poetry comes from that. But it's you can still have that power of love in your own way, your own expression, manifest with an open heart. But let's say we fear of becoming like the love-struck Rumi or Mirabai, and we don't want to live a life like that. We want a family and a partnership and children and grandkids and whatever our picture is. So for me personally, I'm more interested in that, in realizing where love will take me, wherever it will take me, rather than any other plan my mind had.
Actually, the somebody who's unawakened, their definition of love or their experience of love, even if they're awakened to a certain extent, it is vastly different than what we experience love at a heart level. I think to experience the love at a heart level, the person must have overcome a lot of those lower emotional states within himself, something like shame, guilt,
Yes,
anger, lust. Most of it should have been, he must have overcome those lower level emotions to an extent,
exactly.
cleared away the baggage. Until he does not come out of that lower animalistic, egoistic nature, he cannot really understand this as an experience. The love which we feel at the heart level, once you have cleansed your inner subtle body, this is totally different maybe a person can have glimpses of it when he is undergoing the process. I'm entered into the phase where Sahasrara chakra will be open now. Even Agya chakra has got open totally. All the chakras around have got open. So this
So
sudden
exciting.
it's exciting, but more than exciting, it's become sort of empty inside. What do I say? The person as an experiencer has gone somewhere.
Yeah.
That person is not there. And recently, I just experienced this I am presence where I feel like, in this vast field of consciousness, I'm just a point. These phrases where you feel I exist, aham brahmasmi, or where these phrases like I am the presence or I am consciousness, forgot it.
Tattva.
Tattvamasi, correct. Tattvamasi. So, when you have, these are not actually,
That was my Swami name when I was a Swami.
these are actually lines that will appear in your head in whatever language you speak in.
Yes.
When you reach that level. So when
they appear in your language and in Sanskrit. So in my case, like this, the truths of the Veda appear automatically as Sanskrit and in my English, and coming out as speech. So exactly, like also the blessings, the mantras, it's it's quite interesting because I started manifesting like not exact Sanskrit, but the truths of the Vedas in perfect Sanskrit. But other words are kind of like Sanskrit, but kind of like a little spin on it.
For me, it was English, surprisingly.
Oh, good. But I also get English. The Tattvamasi appears as I am that I am, like in the Bible.
Yes.
So when Moses asks the burning bush, "Who are you?" The Almighty says, "I am that I am." And so that's the English version of Tattvamasi.
Okay. The first time Kundalini Shakti came into this level, energy connection, the snake uncoiled and had the energetic connection to this level. The phrase that appeared in my mind was, I exist. I am. Sorry, I did not understand from where that phrase came into my head. I think the translation for it in Sanskrit is Aham Brahmasmi. I am the creator. Because here you see yourself as a creator of your universe or your reality. Because everybody has their own expression of this reality. So you start seeing that you are from which your own reality comes out from. And then when after Kundalini enters this point here, up you have an entrance to your causal body. The causal body is in the heart region. So when that happened, the line that came in my head was Tattvamasi. I am that. I am that. I am the I am presence. And here I felt literally like a point of consciousness in a vast ocean of consciousness. And the way I looked at things was now drastically different. So, first the phrase appears, it takes a while to understand the phrase and the experience that is associated with that phrase. It comes a little later and then it amazes you. But then, because that Kundalini has uncoiled and it is flowing to whatever level it has gone to, this becomes a permanent experience. Now
So
you do
yeah,
not
once you touch the experience,
yes,
it's not like you totally lose it.
you don't lose it.
It makes its appearance felt,
Yes.
meditation or the situation. So
Yes.
for me, I have like so I toggle if I can use that word, like between lots of different bhavas. So I feel like there's an open receiver to where different beings can manifest as bhava. Mir Baba, Ramakrishna, Anandamaya Ma, Radha, Krishna, Durga, different forms of Kali, different forms of Shiva, everything as identities or frequencies that are unique, and I can feel their uniqueness or their aspect that is unique to them is direct knowing of them. And then there's the I am. So there's also I am love and just I am or I am that I am. So when I'm in those states, it's just the transcendent love or the universal love or the transcendent I am, rather than any specific frequency associated with a deity or a guru. So
Wow.
Shakti just takes me between all these states in a single meditation. So, I'll sense the presence of Krishna, and then it might be a Krishna bhava or not. It feels like it's floating in the room. So I'm aware of the entrance of the presence of Krishna, but it may not be as bhava. And then, Archangel Michael or, whoever in the presence, but then I am comes also. And, I never know what's going to happen next. And the Shakti just takes me that way. And in a way, I feel like, one, it's highly entertaining and keeps everything flowing. Yeah, never a dull moment. I feel like all those frequencies, because to me, they have this specificity, are bringing you closer to the totality as well, because they're the specific, but they're also the totality. Like
Yes.
Saraswati is the totality, right?
Yes.
So by feeling the particular frequency of Saraswati, you have an entrance into the totality in a specific point that Shiva is a different point. So
Yes.
it just bringing you constantly into a greater tapestry of the one, but through the immanent and the transcendent, through the plethora and the one, right?